You're listening to Moment of Truth, a weekly challenge from the front lines of faith, as heard on Courageous Christianity with Richard Mendelow, a radio show and podcast about real faith for the real world.
Today, our Moment of Truth comes from Proverbs chapter 18, verse 2, and it says, "Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their opinions." How did Proverbs know about Facebook 2,000 plus years ago? Today, people form opinions in the blink of an eye. We live in a lazy world where we read a headline as though it's the whole story, where our patience is measured in seconds, and where our anger can be measured in days. We live in a world which talks a lot about individual rights, but says very little about individual responsibilities, where people have ill-informed, conflicting opinions, but think that more volume will make them more cogent and more right. We live in a world which relies on AI, social media, and untested teachers to tell us something that consoles us, that eases our consciences, or that absolves us of our sin, and then we call it truth because it feels good. Our phones tell us what to think, and then we pretend to be experts. And then, when we inevitably find ourselves in conflict with one another, depressed, in struggle, we turn again to AI for understanding. And while this may be sadly true of the world, it should not be true of Christians. As Christians, we're not meant to be consumers or purveyors of worldly garbage, recycled generation after generation, and still a bottomless contradictory mess. We're meant to be humble servants who obey Jesus Christ. It's that simple. Let me repeat that. Christians are meant to be humble servants who obey Jesus Christ. As Christians, we're official ambassadors of Christ. We represent His heavenly kingdom. We can have no opinions which don't come from Him or which conflict with what He says is good and right and just. Period. If we do, we're wrong. There's no such thing as, I follow Jesus, but. As Christians, we're members of a holy priesthood, and we're eternally responsible for all we say and do as shepherds of God's lost children. Rather than superficial opinions, we must have informed beliefs. Why is this so important? Because as Christians, we're saved by grace through faith alone, for works of service. Ultimately, our faith should call us into good works among men as we shine God's loving light. That's not possible if we merge the world's loud, divisive, conflicting opinions with the truth of Christ. And while all of this is undeniably true, it's also true that the devil will not stand idly by while Christians shine God's light into the darkness of this world. The devil intentionally creates darkness and chaos, and he uses the resulting turmoil for his purposes. The devil wants to overthrow God and to destroy everything good, and to do that, he must incapacitate those of us who contend for Christ. He wants us to be combat ineffective. How will he undermine us? How will he silence good testimony for Christ? How will he create casualties among us? Mostly with a barrage of distorted, disruptive opinions, ours and those of others. With baseless opinions, he'll confuse the truth of God to make anything seem possible. He'll cause Christians to question God's love, he'll cause us to doubt our faith, and he'll destroy unity in the gospel of Jesus Christ to make us more vulnerable to his lies. Through human opinions, he'll attack family, separating husbands from wives and children from parents and brothers from sisters. He'll encourage self and flesh and entitlement, and then, in the havoc he creates, he'll make right seem wrong and wrong seem right, all while everyone has the opinion that they're right. How will we know if the devil is experiencing success? If the devil is successful, very few Christians will read the Bible, opting instead to take information from the world around them, which reassures them that Jesus gets them, while conveniently forgetting that our job as Christians is to get Jesus, not for him to get us. If the devil is successful, Christians will flock to false teachers who promise the prosperity gospel as we move toward comfort and away from the reality of our situation, which is that we're citizens of heaven, living only for a short time on earth as emissaries of Jesus Christ. We aren't meant to make this place our home or adopt its opinions. We're messengers. Well, let me ask you, whose message do you most often deliver, yours or Jesus's? If the devil's successful, there will be thousands of denominations of Christianity giving evidence of how confused Christians really are, how ignorant of the Bible they are, how self-righteous they are, and this will carry forward in their opinions. If the devil's successful, biblical marriage will have little meaning and will rely on our schools to parent our children, even when they come home with worldly opinions. If the devil's successful, people will celebrate their sin openly rather than repenting at the foot of the cross or at least hiding it in shame. And their opinions will reflect their shame. They'll have more to do with their sin than anything else, and they'll attack anyone who has different opinions. In all of this, obviously, the devil's had significant success in the last 50 years, and especially since social media made opinions the opiate of the masses. So as we talk about threats to Christianity, know that they're very real and prevalent. Know that the devil has had much early success and that ours is not a time for opinion, but for unity and courage in the truth of God as written in the Bible. Keep in mind that internally and externally, the context of our faith is a spiritual battlefield, and that on this battlefield, there we're caught between the devil and God. In Christ, we're victors and free men. And finally, know that in Christ, by our choices made daily and with eyes wide open, we can turn the tide of this battle. And that's courageous Christianity.
This has been your Moment of Truth. To hear the full conversation, visit courageouschristianity.today/listen or search Courageous Christianity with Richard Mendelow wherever you get your podcasts.